Lesson planning. Planning an effective lesson is not just about cramming as much information as possible into a 50-minute time slot, or even about cramming information into a student's brain. In fact, that might be the worst possible approach to creating a lesson plan. A good place to start is with the material. It is very important for the teacher to review the material ahead of time, because mistakes do happen and students love to catch them. If you're using a text, go through the chapter and take notes, just like you would expect the students to do. Write down the most important points and then make sure they coincide with whatever test you plan to use. It might sound like teaching to the test, but it's extremely important to adequately cover the material that's going to be addressed. Being unprepared and testing unfairly is one of the fastest ways to lose a student's respect, and there's no way to teach someone who does not respect you. Once you know what information is going to be covered in the lesson, you can start to construct one. The components of an effective lesson are focus, or hook, teacher input, which should usually not take the form of a lecture, authentic activities, assessment, enclosure, and reflection. The focus grabs a student's attention and makes them interested in what is to come. It might be a thought-provoking question, a short video, a prop, or anything that might make a student say, "Cool." It sounds like a tiny thing, a throwaway, but it sets the stage for the entire lesson to come. Without the student's engagement, the rest of the lesson can very easily go right in one ear and out the other. Teacher input and the activity work together to present the information and then set it like plaster or cement. But instead of leaving it alone to dry, the activity and input should both keep stirring. A student needs to have their attention re-grabbed about every 10 minutes before a task can get tedious or boring. They need to keep moving to see the information from as many different angles as possible in order to get it set in their brains. Closure and reflection is a sealment for that cement. It gets a student to keep thinking about the material even after class is over, gives them a point to begin building questions of their own. That's just the ingredients for a lesson, though. Some of the most important components of a good lesson cannot be put into time slots. A good lesson plan must be structured. There has to be something to do for every second of class time in order to keep the students on task and the class running smoothly. A hiccup in the proceedings is the seed for chaos. It only takes a moment for students to start talking, getting up, and getting off task. A good lesson must also be flexible, which seems contradictory, but isn't. Someone might bring up a very good question that really deserves a lengthy discussion. Some might bring something to show the class, or there might be an event that can be incorporated into the learning. Lessons have to be accommodating, because there are always opportunities to be grabbed. Another important component related to flexibility is preparation for students with different learning styles and levels of ability. A visual learner might not get very much from listening to the text read aloud, and an auditory learner probably doesn't want to see vocabulary written on the board. Some students might have a specific handicap and need extra support or just a different approach. The best way to handle this is to incorporate a lot of different approaches in the lesson. Use a tape, a tactile activity, a handout, reading aloud, and a demonstration all in the same lesson, so that you can reach the largest possible number of students. Some students will still have trouble, and that needs to be taken into account before the lesson is planned rather than once a problem arises. There needs to be a contingency plan, just in case. Again related, some students are social animals and some are solitary. A mix of group work and individual work gives all students a chance to do their best and a chance to learn how to work in a situation with which they are less comfortable. Most important, though, a lesson must be relevant, meaningful, and age-appropriate. It is unspeakably important to let students know exactly how the material relates to real life. How many times will an exasperated student ask, "And when am I actually going to use this?" Have an answer ready and be able to demonstrate it. Give authentic activities that involve real-world tasks and real-world skills. Math might look pointless until you have to balance a checkbook or calculate the number of free bytes left on your laptop. Students absolutely have to know why this is important, or they will forget it as soon as they have finished the test.
Early lesson planning. A very good idea when creating your lesson plans is to begin early, perhaps days or weeks in advance of the lesson, to give enough time for reworking and for planning in coordination with other teachers to make sure that your lessons can be used sort of universally. When collaborating with other teachers, it is a good idea to run your lesson plans past other experienced teachers, perhaps for the first year of teaching, for feedback and sharing good ideas. You can also make your lessons flexible by allowing for longer discussions, or more structured by having a list of certain things that must be accomplished during a certain amount of time, and a plan in case those things are finished quickly during the lesson. Personally, I do not plan to use too much group work, since I noticed in high school that group work seems to be an excuse for the teacher to disengage from the class and go off and do their own thing behind the desk. When I do use group work, I intend to be in and among the students, making sure that they stay on task and making sure that they have the help that they require. I also mean to keep a list of hooks, good ideas to catch the attention of the students, and I will add to it as ideas come to me and continue adding to it through years. Perhaps thin it out periodically and keep the best ones so that I end up with a list of really good ones. I also plan to keep up with my age group's television, music, and fads, and try to think of ways to use cool stuff in the lesson to keep it relevant and interesting to the age group, so that they don't lose interest or see me as out of touch. But I think that most importantly, I plan to start early so that there will always be enough time for me to have a thorough plan and in conclusion, the lesson plan provides the backbone of teacher-student interaction and is the foundation of structured learning. It demonstrates respect for the student's time and effort involved in a learner-oriented education.